Working on this talk, I kept returning to the question my students inevitably seem to ask: what's theory got to do with it? This question is voiced by in-service and pre-service teachers, masters, and doctoral students. I've even heard educational researchers raise this question, and I have to confess that every time I hear the question, Tina Turner pops into my head and starts singing, "What's love got to do with it?" My acknowledgments to Miss Turner, who has been an ever-present companion in these musings. In my discussions with students, I often use big T theory to represent grand theories that George Ruby referenced in his introduction to this session, and I use the phrase little t theory to refer to theories or hypotheses we generate during qualitative data analysis or during analysis of our classrooms, or even for theories generated during our everyday lives around very important questions such as: why do adolescent males of a particular household seek to distribute their dirty socks across the broadest area of any given room within that household? Now, for any of you who just missed that astute question and are still stuck with "what's love got to do with it" running through your head, I can empathize. At first, I was amused by the theory-love connection, and then quite annoyed at the continual looping of the song inside my head. So I finally went and looked up the lyrics in hopes of finding some magical antidote. It turns out that the lyrics are actually quite relevant. Theory, it seems to me, particularly big theory, is a lot like love. It's scary. For some, it may cause surprise, confusion, or even avoidance. Within educational arenas, some have regarded theory as a necessary evil, and others as a hindrance or misleading proposition. Like love, that secondhand emotion, theory too is tolerated. But in recent educational time, theory seems to be second to generalizable findings, randomized controls, and the ultra-practical or even scripted materials for teachers. As one educational researcher explained, what really matters is the outcome for kids and what teachers can do on Monday morning. And that was actually a comment that was made to me pretty much verbatim by somebody at LRA. Now let me be clear, I am not opposed to empirical data, generalizable findings, randomized controls, or specific strategies for teachers. And our bottom line should absolutely be what all of the outcomes, not just test scores, mean for kids. But I am troubled by this notion that theory, especially big theory, is something that doesn't or shouldn't matter to teachers. Here then is my first assertion. Theory is integral, grounded, and embodied. Theory does not have to be an out there pie in the sky abstraction. And I admit that I too keep asking from time to time, does theory matter? And why do I think it matters? Let me ground this in an example from when I was working as an ESL teacher. At one point, after reading about schema theory, I had one of those light bulb moments that really helped me think more deeply about my classroom. A theory wasn't necessary in order for me to reflect on my teaching or on my students' learning, but the theory provided me with tools and language to explore, to ponder, and to make sense of teaching and learning more deeply. To put it more simply, I do not believe in the myth that teachers do not want to learn about theory or cannot value big T theory or little t theories. Part of the issue is in how theory is presented to teachers and how teachers are positioned by theorists, researchers, teacher educators, organizations, and corporations, particularly those with neoliberal agendas. Teachers also often lack opportunities and time to engage with theory and to apply it to considerations of teaching and learning as work in progress. Over the years, I have learned that I am not the only teacher whose encounter with theory helped to fuel a journey that led to further learning. In my case, the theory was part of what got me thinking about mental constructs and cognition, especially those processes that are situated in lived, cultural, embodied experiences. This leads me to a third assertion. Our beliefs and interactions concerning theory are grounded in narrative, in our lived experiences. Some scholars posit that even big T theories are grounded in the lived experiences of their principal founders. Now, I don't have time to elaborate on this next assertion, but it's not just the narrative of our own experiences that matters. History also matters. I'm indebted in particular to David Pearson and Jim Gavelek, who encouraged me to read broadly about schema theory, following the vein of history, but also to read broadly and deeply in multiple directions and even across multiple disciplines. This emphasis on historical and interdisciplinary aspects of theory is something that we should continue to foster and promote at LRA and in the field. And I would actually like to see us promote this much more strategically and much more intentionally within LRA. Not only are our lived experiences linked to narrative, as Lakoff and Johnson tell us, lived experiences are grounded in metaphors, and metaphors shape the way we see and understand the world. This holds true for metaphors of theory as well. In some cases, our understanding of theory may function as a template. Recently, I heard teachers talking about activating a schema or turning on a schema in kids' heads as if the kids were flipping a switch to on. That's theory as a template. It constrains. The metaphor matters. Theory can also be viewed as a guide or a jumping off point. At present, the metaphors that I most prefer for theory is theory as art or theory as poetry, and I really can't decide. I constantly go back and forth between which is a better metaphor. In other words, theory is not a monolithic proposition imposed on all research data. Theory should be understood as a living, flexible tool that researchers can shape and interact with. It seems to me that such an approach to theory is needed. The flexibility is important for shifts occurring right now. Second-generation cognitive science is now bringing philosophy, the neurosciences, psychology, linguistics, and other disciplines together to theorize and investigate learning as an embodied process. We need an approach to big theory that keeps pace with this interdisciplinary approach to embodied learning.